Hell hath no fury like a former Supreme Court justice scorned. Also, in that former Supreme Court justice from a state like Texas happens to be an established Republican senator who you screw over and who you need to vote for your nominee to become the next Attorney General of the United States. It's exactly what happened when Senator Cornyn of Texas, who will remain the senator for a few more months after Donald Trump basically destroyed the guy's career and picked Ken Paxton, who won in the primaries. But Cornyn's still the senator from Texas, and he sits on the Judiciary Committee in the Senate that is responsible for determining whether Donald Trump's personal criminal defense attorney turned acting AG, who Trump wants to be the AG, will get confirmed. Of all of the questioning, I think the most underrated was actually Senator Cornyn. So I looked into his background because, I know him as a MAGA Republican. Perhaps he wasn't as MAGA extreme as some of the others, but he was definitely an enabler. But you go back and you look at the guy's background, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy was an associate justice of the Texas Supreme Court. And before that, he was the Attorney General of Texas. And before that, he was a district court judge, in Texas as well. And so this person had a pretty significant background, because when I saw the questioning that he was asking of Blanche, it was very technical and it was very technically savvy. And what Cornyn was able to do, what no one else was really able to do, using his judicial background and frankly, expert level judicial background, he exposed why Todd Blanche refused to put anything in writing that the January 6th slush fund for $1.776 billion would be invalidated, and that Donald Trump's super pardon that was also part of the settlement as part of Trump's $10 billion lawsuit that Trump filed this year against the IRS and the Treasury Department, why they wouldn't put anything in writing also invalidating that, but they would say it orally, like Blanche would say it, the lawyers would go into court and say, and they would go, isn't our oral representations enough? We're saying it, Judge. We're saying it out loud. So we don't need to sign our names to any of these documents. Now, you probably have seen some of the follow-ups that we've done where there are now massive sanctions in the Southern District, Florida case, by the way, against Trump's various lawyers who were involved in even bringing that case. Then there's a Virginia proceeding taking place as well. But when you actually dig through the contractual language, Senator Cornyn made a brilliant point and really exposed what was happening here. The agreement, the settlement agreement, has a clause that says that the written agreement can only be nullified or changed in writing. And so the idea that Blanche and the Justice Department and Donald Trump's criminal racketeering enterprise was going to pursue is by not putting anything in writing to allow Donald Trump to make the argument, and Trump's kids, because they are also parties to this agreement, evidently, and the Trump organization. Well, we can enforce this written agreement. Is not so much even about the January 6th insurrectionists and their slush fund. It's about the super pardon, because Trump made billions and billions of dollars where he can construe this agreement as not having to pay taxes on it based on the way the agreement is written. And he can try to enforce it by saying, well, yeah, they said it was orally invalidated, but the agreement says to invalidate it, it has to be in writing. And so Cornyn said, he at least said this was his big issue, and he wanted to see if it was truly invalidated, the agreement, or if there was a loophole. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't have high hopes for MAGA Republicans in general, even when they are on the outs with Donald Trump. I'm shocked to see what cowards these human beings. It's like actually shocking me. But I give him credit for this questioning because it did expose a very technical legal issue. And here we like to focus on those technical legal issues. Let's play the first clip.
But let's talk a little bit about the settlement agreement and the release. First of all, I believe you have said that the weaponization fund is a moot issue. Is that your position?
Yes, it is a moot issue, meaning there is no weaponization fund. The weaponization fund is dead. It's not moving forward.
Well, I would refer you to the settlement agreement. Do you happen to have a copy of that in front of you?
I do not.
Okay,
Senator.
well, you probably know what's in it.
I'm familiar with it, yes.
I'm sure you are. On page 4, this settlement agreement may be modified only upon the written agreement of the parties. Has there been a written agreement of the parties to modify the settlement fund?
No, the settlement fund's just not moving forward. There's no modification. It's just, it never started. No money went from the Treasury to any other account. There's no commissioners. It's not moving forward.
Well, so the settlement agreement remains as it was originally, but I hear what you're saying. Is the settlement agreement enforceable as a contract by the parties?
Well, yes, it's an enforceable document. So I suppose if President Trump's counsel sought to enforce it, they potentially could,
including the weaponization fund.
Well, they could try to enforce the contract. They can't force the Department of Justice to move forward with the weaponization fund. They could potentially say that, I suppose, that we breached by not moving forward. They haven't done that, and I'm not aware that they're planning on doing that. Like I said, Senator, and Senator Durbin talked about this, but I've talked extensively with you and other colleagues about potentially codifying so there's no weaponization fund, which is certainly something that could be done. And I wasn't meaning to insult this body, but just that in response to questions from senators about whether that could be done, we very much are okay with that.
But just to be clear, the President of the United States, who is a plaintiff in this lawsuit, has not agreed in writing to delete the weaponization fund, and there's no guarantee that he or one of the other plaintiffs might raise that issue by way of a lawsuit and a breach of contract lawsuit in the future.
Well, Senator, the plaintiffs have no power over the fund. The fund was administered solely by the by the 5 commissioners and through the Department of Justice. So no, they don't have any power with respect to the fund at all. I suppose they could bring a lawsuit and then we would litigate it. But even if we were litigating it, there's no fund. So the results of such litigation, whatever it would be, wouldn't be a revival of the fund.
Revival of the fund, right, Harry Litman from Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds Substack? What else are they not saying? The super pardon about his audits and waiving and releasing all of his tax liability and tax evasion. And I mean, I think that really singled out. That's why they're not putting it in writing, because the writing would invalidate it and it has to be in writing. What do you make of it, Harry?
You're damn right, Ben. Absolutely. And this has been completely sort of misanalyzed or whiffed on by everyone, media and Senate. Look, a settlement agreement in a case is a contract. Absolutely. And the very fact that Todd Blanche would go in front of the Senate and say, trust me, and you give a very good reason why he shouldn't be trusted on the terms of the contract. But just saying it, this is a contract that goes to the benefit of Donald Trump. Donald Trump gave his renunciation of this 3-way, completely worthless lawsuit that, in fact, is under, you can only get $1,000 tops anyway, and it's unconstitutional and time barred. It's worth exactly 0. And for that, the United States, in its wisdom, decided to enter into an agreement. Now, that's something that consideration, as the lawyers say, went to Trump. So it was always not only complete empty as a legal matter, but it showed so much that the AG could go there and say, take my word for it, this thing is dead. What do you mean? It's a contract. The contract runs to Trump. It never was dead and never would be dead unless Donald Trump said it was dead. And as we know, in addition, it had to be in writing. Moreover, you have a federal district court judge who has said, this isn't dead. This isn't moot. Todd Blanche might have said something in the Senate, but it's a legal question. Is something moot or isn't it? And the fact that he said that, won't put it into writing, is being all squirrely, that doesn't make it moot. And yet, Blanche was acting as if that decision never happened, or he could completely ignore a federal district court decision. Separately, every time he spoke about the tax provision, he kept talking about, well, it's part of a settlement agreement. Routine is part of a settlement agreement. Far from routine. We've established that there's no analog at all. But the very same thing, a federal district court has now said there was no settlement agreement. There was a contrivance and a fraud on the court. And so his whole pitch here to the senators is based on the DOJ saying we don't have to listen to or follow the rulings of federal courts, federal district courts. Blanche actually said, I'm studying the 11th Circuit law myself, and I don't really agree with Williams. It's pretty breathtaking. It's the same thing that came up way at the beginning with Abrego Garcia and don't land those planes, that the DOJ is just brazenly ignoring, and there's no authority going the other way, no stay, no hold. They're just ignoring it. Now, a couple points about Cornyn. Yeah, you're really right. You would think that he personally was decapitated by Trump, and the entire Senate was pretty upset about that. He's a well-regarded, popular guy. Ken Paxton, whom Trump anointed, is the opposite. He was, in fact, impeached by the Republican state Senate down there. And Cornyn's been around a long time, and they just, watching the kind of, Trump just take the gun, walk him to the wall and shoot him. You would think that really would be the end of the matter, my golly. But with both him and Tillis, who are in a similar position, people have pointed out where whatever they do next, they're going to do it in a sort of Republican ecosystem where they live. That means lobbying or just dinner parties or just, walking around. And if they are, we've seen Cornyn and Tillis both get a little bit steel in their spine and then kind of be cowed. You would think it'd be an easy vote for Cornyn because in addition to everything else, he understands as a judge, exactly how much Blanche has departed from the way the DOJ is supposed to do things. And that should really bring home that this is they would be ratifying just a terrible course of corruption and violations of the Constitution. But I think he's really, very much on the fence. But he is the guy, talk about, a sort of turnabout is fair play. Literally, Trump comes in, endorses his opponent in the last week, and his opponent wins. But I really want to say, as to the fund, it's the height of not just arrogance, but kind of complete failure, complete contempt for the courts that you have law established here, and they're just pretending they're not, that it's not the case. And if that settlement agreement, as of course it is bogus and doesn't count for anything, then everything that Blanche is saying just goes out the window. And what's left, if he wants to try to do it, some kind of, well, I love you, Mr. President. Here's a free $100 million gift. That's the audit. And one final point about Blanche made several misstatements of law. For instance, I can't meet with the Epstein survivors. They have lawyers. Excuse me, as Cory Booker pointed out, of course you can. Maybe the lawyers have to be there, or maybe they have to waive it, but you certainly can. But on the fund itself, he wanted to say that you can tether it to a settlement agreement, even if it doesn't exist. He also wanted to say, it was a kind of an eye-opening moment. Yeah, I guess Trump could sue. Oh, but that doesn't mean we would give the fund. Wrong, and wrong again. It's contract, straightforward contract, breach of contract suit, and sometimes you get specific performance. If so, this would be the remedies. It's just first-year law school stuff. Either you got to give $1.776 billion, and to whom? Well, to the third-party beneficiaries. They could certainly make a claim and have to go through it, or to Trump to dole it out, or Trump could say, we need specific performance here, that and when nothing else will do, you can get specific performance. It's just a basic contract analysis, and Blanche's posturing that, we're not going forward. They're the defendant here, that they made the deal. They sold the shoes, and now they're saying, we're not going forward. They sold already and gave the benefit to Donald Trump. It's not up to them to say we're not going forward. And the very notion that they're doing it shows obviously they think they're one and the same, joined at the hip. He can speak for the other. And what's that mean? That means the whole thing, which of course it is collusive as the day is long, and therefore unconstitutional. It's a non-lawsuit. And as William said, it's basically never happened. Shut up already by talking about this settlement agreement and this bogus lawsuit.
I like when he goes, there's no indication that Donald Trump's actually going to bring a lawsuit on. Really, come on.
Yeah, we can count on Donald Trump and his kids. Yeah,
we think that they're going to absolutely behave responsibly and do the right thing. Yeah. Everybody can subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel. It's called Talking Feds. After this video ends, search Talking Feds. And by the way, get a copy of WTF America while you're at it. Pre-orders available now. But subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel first.
Breaking news right now. My brothers and I wrote a book. It's called WTF America. And well, doesn't that just say it all? It comes out officially this October, but you can pre-order your copy today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description below.